That's weird.
All right, it's Monday, November 17th, 2022, 7:30 p.m., 7:31. And I call this meeting of the Needham Design Review Board to order. I'm the board chair, Mark Lusing. I would like to confirm that members and applicants are present and can hear me. So when I call your name, please respond. Bob Dermody.
Here.
Susan Opton.
Here.
Also attending our town staff person, Elisa Lichman. Applicants, if someone from the team could respond, 827 Highland Ave, M&T Bank.
Sorry, here.
Okay. 66 Pickering Street, Verizon.
I don't see him yet.
We'll see if they show up in a bit. 40 and 50 Central Avenue site plan review. I thought I saw George.
Yes, we're here. We're on.
Okay. And 9 B Street, Coca-Cola for modification to their site plan review.
Here.
Okay, great, thanks. Welcome to this open meeting of the Needham Design Review Board, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the outbreak of the coronavirus. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Design Review Board is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, Design Review Board page, identifying how the public may join. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. Tonight, there's a special permit application for which we will seek public input. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this board are available on the town's website. Public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that other people may be able to see you and that you take care not to screen share unless the chair approves. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. I'd like to review the remote meeting procedures for tonight's meeting. I will introduce each applicant on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will take comments or questions from DRB members. After discussion, each vote will be by roll call vote. The building department requires electronic submission of building permit applications. A copy of your application stamped and noted for the type of approval that it receives will be emailed to the applicant by the DRB support staff. This can then be attached to your building permit application. So we will start with the first item on the agenda. And tonight, this is a public notice is given that M&T Bank, to be located at 827 Highland Ave, has made application to the Design Review Board for a special permit for a second sign not designating an entrance. So why don't you kind of go ahead and show us, we have it in the packet, but if you want to show us what you're doing or explain the situation, I will turn it over to M&T Bank.
Hi, my name is Marie Mercier. I'm with Sign Design, the sign installers. I'm here with my team, which is from Image One National and M&T Bank. We're here looking to seek relief for the second signage on the side of the building. If you're looking at the building, it's on the left-hand side. I know it overlooks the parking lot beside the bank. They're looking to replace a sign that was already there, and I'm being told, I guess that sign hadn't gone through the planning board prior. We're not too sure, but we're looking to seek relief to get the second signage in for the bank. Do I need to upload that, Elise? Do I have share screen or do you have it?
The board has it, but it's up to,
Yeah.
Okay.
do you want her to share?
Bob and Susan, do you want to have them put it on the screen, or can we talk from? Why don't you go ahead and put up the?
I'd like to see it on the
that
screen.
page. Yeah, why don't
Yes,
you put up the
please.
page with
On the screen, please. Thanks.
just the, I think it's the second or third page. It has the two images and the sign with its dimensions.
Elise, is that for me to do? I'm sorry.
Yes, can you please?
Okay. Sorry, yep. shared screen. Here it is. Oops. Sorry, I'm kind of new at this. Do we have,
Take your time.
oops. Nope, that wasn't it. Sorry, I'm not really that great with, that's the.
You have my sympathy.
I don't know if this is the newest one. Hold on. Can we see that?
Yes. It's the same information.
It's the
present-
same information. It's just a different page.
Yeah.
So this is the side of the building that the bank, the front entrance, if you're looking at this picture, is over to the right. The main entrance right off of Highland Ave. And they're looking to put the M&T Bank here. The sizes below are accurate. We're at like just over 17 square feet for the signage. And it would be on the raceway that would match the background.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, Bob, do you have any questions or comments?
Given the fact that there's already one there or was one there, I don't think this is gonna be a big drastic change. It appears to be a shorter left to right sign. And the raceway for the new sign will match the brick background. Do we know the condition of is there a raceway for the People's United Bank that's existing? And is that gonna be removed? Is that all gonna be okay? Is that gonna change anything in your sign?
No, will all be removed. If there are any holes from that, it will be filled with
Okay.
a matching silicone to the brick.
All right,
And this raceway is smaller.
right. And is this an illuminated sign?
Yes.
Okay. So. And then what color is the M and the T? They look, on this image, they look very white.
Well, the faces on them are white, but it is a white, it will be illuminated. M&T Bank will be illuminated in white. The same as what we have in the front of the building.
Okay. I think, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we tend to encourage them to put some kind of a film so it's not bright white. I don't know if that's necessary here because it's only letters.
Yeah, that's typically more an issue when the panel that it's on is white and then they
Okay.
put final letters on. These are generally LED now, so they can, if we do see an issue at some point, we can ask them to dim it
Oh, okay, good.
in the
And then
future.
last comment or question is it looks centered, is it intended to be centered between the two horizontal bands?
Yes, in between those two, yes.
Okay, no further questions at this time, Mark, thanks.
Okay, yeah, I think we've approved this before because the main sign over the front entrance is on an angled wall that faces towards basically 128. So if you are coming on Highland headed towards 128, they have really no signage visibility. So this has been a reasonable application in the past, and I feel it's kind of the same thing. I guess I would wonder, Bob, if you can see that People's United Bank is centered over that. The opening is a little odd. This seems to be justified straight to the column, which I think works fine, but whether it would be better to center it from the left side of the window to the column or not, or if that's not a significant issue.
I guess good observation, Mark. It's an odd opening underneath because part of it is glazed and
Yeah.
part of it's just open air.
Yeah,
right.
that's why I thought this kind of worked okay.
Yeah, and ideally, I guess it should be centered between the trees
Yeah.
for visibility. So yeah, I think where they have it, if it's justified on the left face of the right column there, that looks fine.
All right, Susan, any questions, comments?
No, I think all the comments have been valid and I agree with all of them.
Okay. So I would take a motion to approve the sign as submitted for a special permit.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, we come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
Approve.
Susan Opton,
approve.
and the chair approves. So, so you're all set. Thank you. We will,
Thank you, Marie
Thank you. Bye-bye.
and team.
Thank you.
next item, kind of missed something there, but we'll be okay. The next item is 66 Pickering Street. Verizon is changing an existing sign.
Mark, can,
Yeah.
excuse me, can you just make note of the other?
Oh, okay,
hearing?
yep. We have another public hearing, which will be continued to December 5th for the Sheraton Hotel for different signs that they are installing. There was a requirement publication for notification in the newspaper that they did not meet the time frame for, so we're going to continue them to the next hearing. So then the next item on the agenda is the Verizon communications. So I'll go ahead and someone want to take that. You're free to share the screen if you want.
You hear me? This is Mark Evangelist from Gemini Signs. I'm hoping you can hear me.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, excellent. Oh, good. I'm next on the agenda.
Yes.
All right. This is a brand new sign for Verizon. It's an identical sign of the existing sign that's there. Same size, same frame, same material, same location. As many of you may know, Verizon changed their logo over the last year. And you have the pictures of that was sent to you. Can you see that? You can see
Yeah.
before and after. They're getting rid of the large red check mark and they're going to a tiny red check mark. Right. So that's the only change. So they're doing this throughout the whole scheme of the logo change. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
So is the background color changing? It looks like it's going from black to gray.
Background color is black.
Okay, so it's not showing
Same
up that way
exact
in
color.
the
The
rendering.
background's black. It's just a picture on that. Shows a gray. Let me see here. I'm
Okay.
sorry, you're absolutely right. It's going from, yep, you're right, actually.
So it's cool
It's
gray
going
pen.
from cool, yeah, it's going to a PMS cool gray from a black.
Okay,
I just noticed that actually. And I'm really not the manufacturer.
okay,
Manufacturers out of the Midwest, they're shipping the sign to me and they hired me to get the sign permit and to mount the sign on the wall.
yeah, that's fine. It's a little presumptuous, but we'll continue. Bob, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, but I'm not sure it's germane or appropriate, but I'll go anyways. That never stops me. The location of the sign, yes, the obvious advantages of putting it right back where it was, notwithstanding. Does anybody know why it's in that location? It seems like an odd location on the facade. Is Verizon the only occupant of this building?
I would say yes to that. I'm not familiar with the building. I'm from
mean,
all the maps.
Maybe I should have
don't know
started
if they
differently.
have
I'm fine with
tenants
the
or not.
sign. The
Pardon
sign's
me?
fine. I think the color and the check mark and the logo, that's fine. I'm just the location of it. It seems low for a 2-story brick building like this, and it's way away from the door. So,
Yeah, this is a private building. It's a employee only. A lot of, I think if I remember from the last time, it was a lot of equipment.
Oh, okay, like a
And it's-
switching station
It's
kind of
not,
thing?
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
offices that the
Okay.
public visit at all. So they just kind of identify that they were the occupant of the building.
Yeah. That's fine. No, other than that, I'm fine.
Okay, Susan?
I'm fine. It seemed a little strange to have all the negative space above the sign, but I guess it sort of works. So based on everyone else's comments, I'm fine.
Well, I guess I'd agree with you. The reason that panel is that size is that originally it had that big check mark above it.
Right.
Now the check mark's gone. Why isn't this a 2-foot high panel instead of a 4'7" panel that's just gray?
Yeah, good point.
I was assuming that maybe they thought the building was faded behind it or something, and it might leave a mark.
Well, I
Yes.
guess I'd ask the applicant, is there a particular reason the panel was left the same size and not reoriented when the
Well, they
graphic?
probably just wanted to, they wanted to probably streamline the permit and just put the same exact sign. It was approved before, it's there. It was approved by whoever, if there was an existing board there before this, or I'm not sure how long this design review board has been in existence. But a lot of times they'll do that. And the other thing is that is that sometimes the building does fade. And then but I don't know unless we take the sign down to see. But it makes sense to keep it the same size just in case that's the case. And they don't have to power wash it to try to match. But I don't know. I have no reason why. I don't know exactly why they would change the size. And that happens in a lot of towns. We keep it the same so that you're not rocking the boat.
Right.
Yeah, but it really isn't the same sign. I mean, the other sign has a check mark above the word Verizon that fills all that space on that panel.
I was talking about the size.
Proposed sign.
Size I was talking about.
Well, wait, but.
Same size typically. When you keep it the same size, then most of the time, it's pretty cookie cutter
Well,
from my experience.
I would disagree, but I don't have enough objection to it to make the change, but I did want to have the discussion and understand why it wasn't a sign that fit the graphic a little better than that one does. So, it could go in the middle of the panel now. It's just, there's a lot of other ways to look at it when you change the graphics to be, a third of this area that the original graphic took up.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mark. The graphic, if you want the same size, the graphic can go anywhere. It could be centered, top, bottom, left, right. It could be centered just vertically, could be at the top. Is that all right with Verizon, do you think?
Well, if I may interject, I just installed a sign in Framingham, and it was designed the same exact way with that black space at the top. So they didn't, even though I did the same exact thing there, I installed the same exact type of sign. And I think that might be part of their design, part of their whole scheme.
Okay.
To have that white, well, they call it white space, but in this case, it's black space.
Or gray?
Yeah, gray this
Yep.
time.
Yeah, okay. Well, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, I mean, it'll work. It'll do its job. It's just, this is our job to ask, we're not in Framingham.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know what I just installed over there. It was identical to this. It looked identical. It had the same exact space and the same design.
Was it the same sign before? Are they doing the same thing, or did they design it that size?
No, I replicated the exact, I'm doing exactly what I'm doing. I did in Framingham, was what we're doing in Needham. It was same exact size, logo, shape, color scheme, and it was all approved over there with that design. So I suspect that Verizon, this is their design. And unless you're going with individual letters, flat up like the previous applicant where they had just raised letters, then I guess there's no need to have any black space above.
Yeah, I'm with
Yeah.
you, Mark. I don't think I'm moved enough to pursue it further.
Right. I think it wasn't very well done on their part, but that's not enough to object to the sign, I guess, at this point. It doesn't seem very well thought out by them about how they wanted this to look, this idea that they're just going to match the panel and throw the graphic on the bottom again. And if you told us that this is how they wanted to do it and they were doing it, you're still, you're kind of speculating, but we don't need to belabor that at this point. Because it's a comfortably attractive enough sign to my taste anyway. So I would take a motion to approve the sign as submitted.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, and the vote, Bob Dermody,
Approve.
Susan Opton,
approve.
and the chair approves. All right, well, thanks for explaining it out with us. We
Thanks for
appreciate it.
Thank
talking,
you.
Mark.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you for
Thank
your
you.
service to the,
Yep.
thank you for your service. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. And the next item is 40 and 50 Central Avenue. This is a site plan review. So we will be, and I see it's George Junta Jr. So George, we will be, at the end, we will write a memo for the planning board. When are you appearing there? Do you know?
We are scheduled for November 15th. Was that next Tuesday?
Okay. Well, it's better than a day. So why don't you go ahead and you and your team can show us what you're doing here.
All right. So I'm just going to give some introductory kind of remarks, set the
Yep.
background, and then I'm going to let our design team. I think Mariana Dagatti is going to sort of take over that piece and lead you through the design part. But to give you some context, so this is two properties at the corner of Central Avenue and Reservoir. Most people are familiar with it because it is the location of the Pinellas Market, which has been there in some form or fashion going way back in the 60s, I think, at least. So right now there's a small one-story building that you can barely even see because it's overgrown by trees and vegetation. That's really an abandoned vacant building on the lot that used to be used for a used car dealership years and years and years ago. And then there's the two-story commercial building where Pinellas is located on the first floor, and there's offices on the second floor. So the proposal is to take these two properties, combine them together, tear down the two existing structures, replace them with a new 3-story structure that will contain 15 residential dwelling units and 3 commercial spaces or 3 commercial bays on the first floor. Right now, one of those is expected and intended to be occupied by Pinellas. So they, after construction, they should be coming back. And the other 2 tenants are as yet to be determined. The property is located in the neighborhood business district, so there's some limitations in terms of what users can go in, but that's sort of immaterial for what we're doing here this evening. So, as I said, it's going to be a new building. There's going to be 2 driveways accessing the site, one off of Central, one off of Reservoir, essentially wrapping around the building. There will be a landscape buffer and a bunch of landscape and hardscape installed, basically an attractive, nice design building. And so with that, I'll turn it over to the design team and let them pick it up from there. I think, Mariana, you're going to take the lead.
Thank you, George. So good evening, Mariana Dagatti and Ron Yarek. We are here in the office as part of the architect team. It's also Trevor O'Leary tonight with us. Well, thank you, George, for the introduction. I think if we have the ability to share the screen and you, Trevor, can help us with that. We would like to present, we have prepared for tonight, and you probably saw, we circulated the set of drawings for the special permit application, including floor plans and elevations for this building. We recently added additional information regarding the rear elevations and renderings to illustrate better what the architectural intention for this proposal. So I don't know if we can start sharing the.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sharing our screen.
Go ahead.
Trevor, can you help us with that or?
Yep, give me 1 second. Sorry, my PDF just froze up. I don't know if
Okay.
you happen to have it open, but I'm just trying to restart it.
I probably do have it open.
Sorry
from
about that. I think Zoom just froze it up.
Okay.
Oh, wait, here we go. I got it open again.
Sorry.
All right, it's loading up. All right. Should be up on the screen.
We see it.
We can see it now. Can the rest of the board see this page? So,
Yes,
Can you make it full screen?
yes. So I will basically start, describing, producing a brief description about the intentions and the concept for this design. And I definitely will be more open to any questions that the members of the board have. So I can specifically talk about what is in your interest. But as we presented today, this is a corner lot between Reservoir and Central Ave. So the building presents 2 frontages to these 2 streets. It's a very busy intersection. We can definitely recognize how important is the way that this building will present on these 2 roads, although they have 2 very distinctive characteristics. So this is the way we have approached this building, being a mixed-use building, 15 units, residential units with a commercial component on the first floor. We try to make very clear the frontages facing the 2 different roads presented with a different character. So as you can see from Reservoir side is where we have the majority of the access to the first floor commercial spaces. And there the building is more presented following in some consistency with what in the neighborhood you can see, more brick buildings, a presence of some dark elements that we would like to use on the recessed portion of the building, and particularly on the upper floor, where we are trying to also lower the scale of the building as it's presented to this road. Whereas on the side facing towards Central Ave is where the residential entrance is going to be the entry for the residential above, and therefore the building will be presented in a different manner. We have also the parking, the entrance for the vehicular entrance via the 2 roads, but in particular from Central Ave, you can see that there's the way under the building where the cars will then enter into our site to occupy the parking at the rear of the lot. Some of the characteristics of this building are that we are trying to open with a lot of fenestration, trying to bring as much light as possible. It's a very open area around this corner. And we also consider that we are offering these units some open views, and the majority will have also a way to open to the outside. There will be balconies on a few of them, and others will be presented with just a Juliet type of balcony in order to expand, at least with the views to the outside. I think if you can help me, Trevor, we can probably just go through the renderings. Maybe it's a little more illustrative. And there you can also see our intentions in with regards to the landscape. We are considering the fact that as a corner lot, this building, the corner feature that we are proposing for this building will be very well exposed and will give more presence, no, to this intersection. We are also addressing another matter, which is the lighting. We know that this will be part of the conversation through the special permit, how we would like to introduce this element and how we will give different hierarchies around the different areas, whether it is illuminating the building, just the landscape around the building, or the parking areas. This rendering is showing specifically the corner where, as if you were driving on Central Ave, and you have Reservoir on your right side. And we have a few more images specifically showing both sides of the buildings. So if we can pass this one, and maybe this is the corner, sorry, this is the side of here. Okay, this one is the side facing Reservoir Street, and the other one is, and here you can see where it's coming, one of the entrance to the parking at the rear of the building, and this is the side facing Central Ave, where then again you have the entrance for the parking to the rear, and you can see also how it's in some way more defined the entrance to the residential, with the entry lobby and where the staircase and the elevator will be. Well, I don't know if I should continue just describing, or if you would like to ask me any questions, I probably will, be more specific with my answer.
Maybe they want to see the floor.
You can just go ahead and give us, take us all the way around the building, and then let's look at the site plan with the planting.
Yes, we can go straight to the landscape plan, maybe. This is on the next one.
Could you just show us the,
These
Oh,
are
I think you're muted.
take us around the back side of the building too,
Sure.
just while we're looking at elevation.
These are the rear elevations, both facing towards the parking lot. And as you can see, the volumes of we try to create some interest breaking the massing of the building by a combination not only regarding materials, but also we have a designated area on the third floor where there's some outdoor access for the residents. Once again, we continue providing to the units balconies in order to project and provide with some outdoor areas for the occupants. And well, I think if we can go to the landscape plan, maybe the next page is showing our intentions in terms of the planting selection. We will screen basically the buffer, the green buffer zone between our lot and the with our direct abutter that is on a residential district. That area will be very well screened with the minimum 10 feet high planting that is required by zoning. So we also took into consideration a potential use of that area for some sort of kind of community gardens in the event that there's an interest for planting from the residents. We have designated an area for the trash collection, will be enclosed in the corner that you can see in the bottom right corner of the lot. We also have parking bike storage area is allocated right next to the one of the rear entrances into the building. And we have and the rest of the plan, as you can see, is showing the layout for the parking provision, not only for the residential but also for the commercial. There's an area that we are proposing at the front of our building facing Reservoir Street, where there's a chance that we can accommodate more like a deck or area, or use potential area for, seating and outdoor recreation for the residents, as well as any possibility for any commercial use. This is still under, how can I say, it's not been confirmed. We are still exploring this opportunity. Well, I think I just went through the description of this landscape plan. The lighting we are providing in this drawing, the selection of planting that we are proposing, and also the potential lighting fixtures that we are proposing for the different, as I said, for the outdoor lighting. So I think probably going through the elevations once again, Trevor, maybe, and if you want to quickly have a look to the floor plans. So these are the rear elevations. Here we are showing the two frontages. And with the floor plans, although we are not providing in this set a full design for the interior layout for these plans, we describe that the two upper floors will be for 15 total residential units. There will be a combination of 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom units with a central corridor. And on the top floor, there's access to an outdoor space. So we have produced here a typical, a potential typical floor plan. And as you can see, the units will almost be replicated on both floors. And I think, I don't know, Ron, if you want to add anything else, but
Stairwells, rear-loaded stairwells and corridor.
the two staircases will be, yes, correct. There's just a central corridor where at both ends we have the two vertical connectors with the staircases and one elevator. So, well, any questions? And I will be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. I think what I'd like you to do is start with the site plan, and we can look through the sort of site circulation, the amenities and the layout, and Susan can give us some feedback and questions on the landscaping and some of those features. So Susan, do you want to start? I didn't want to note that a fair amount of the second floor is over the parking area, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and is the commercial wall recessed underneath the second floor wall?
Yes, you are right. The commercial, the storefront for the commercial spaces is between 5 and 7 feet recessed, and it you have a full cover corridor in front of this commercial area in order to get access into these commercial spaces. And the shaded in dark gray area is the building that the building on the second floor over the site plan, as we are indicating now. Over the parking, in part of the parking spaces at the bottom of the lot, and some of the area cover is also facing on Central Ave.
All right, thank you. Susan, do you want to start us off? Could you go
Sure.
to the landscape plan, please? Thanks.
So I don't live very far from this spot, so I wanted to say that I like the scale of it. I thought it was nice, and I enjoyed the building. I need to sort of listen to what my colleagues think. It's a very lovely building, and I almost wonder how it fits in with all the buildings around it. So it will be quite a statement, I think, for that corner. Not a negative thing. I mean, I do think it's a lovely building, and I do like the scale. It looks a little bit, maybe it's just the quality of the drawing. It has a little bit of a feel of a medical building to me, a small scale medical building, which, but maybe that's just either the materials or the drawing. I'm not saying I don't like it, but I'm just curious what some of the others think about that. But I do like it, and compared to what's there, I think it's quite lovely. In terms of the plant material, I did sort of look at some of these things, and some of my comments are based in maintenance and some are based in ecology, I guess. You have a lot of dogwoods on the street, and I think they're all dogwoods. So just in general, it's not a good idea to plant too many of one kind of tree, because if they start failing, then they all fail. So I do have a list of suggestions which I can pass through Elisa, if anybody is more interested in maybe mixing in some other ornamental flowering trees that I can suggest just to mix in with those. I don't know if you have a color scheme you wanted, but I can recommend some. I don't need to go through them all here.
We definitely would, I mean, we'll welcome that information. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
We can have this information, because it's, I agree that it's in our interest more than just to create a palette of colors regarding the seasonal colors from these trees. We definitely want to make the right selection for, you know, just to be consistent for this site and the location. Yes.
Okay. There's some hydrangeas along the walkway, and I could probably recommend a different species, because the species that is chosen is sort of, can look kind of ratty over time. So I can recommend something that might be look the same but be easier to maintain. And you have a boxwood hedge around the outdoor seating, and maybe in a few other places. The boxwoods tend to get diseased and fail a lot, and I can recommend a native evergreen that wouldn't require all the maintenance that a boxwood does. And unless you really want to hedge your boxwoods. These plants, it's a native holly. It looks exactly like a boxwood, and you can plant it in a hedge and it'll just stay like that. You don't have to keep shearing it all the time.
Extension
some of-
will provide the screening from the parking spaces to the area where we are proposing outdoor seating. So if that planting that you are recommending will provide that sort of a screening, it's definitely something that we can consider as well.
How tall were you thinking?
Around maybe 2 to 3 feet, no more. It's just to separate the seating and protecting that from the parking.
Show the rendering again.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
One rendering where we were showing
Yeah,
the
not
front
so much
one.
central.
Yes,
No, it's not that one, Trevor. It's the corner one.
it's the corner one, I think, that is showing the other side.
Give me 1 second, just pulling it up. I don't know why it keeps shutting down on me. My computer doesn't like this one rendering.
They are heavy enough. So,
I do
yeah.
have some comments about the grass lawns. They take a lot of maintenance, and unless they have a purpose, there are a lot of things you can plant there that don't require mowing. And another sort of reason is if you have residents in this building, which I guess you will, mowing is a real annoyance with noise, and these little spaces, you have some are wider than others, but they just become a hassle to mow. And so I think you can plant something green and matting there that will, I mean, I don't know if you want people walking over the lawn or not, but there are other things you can plant there that would be much easier to maintain than a lawn and wouldn't require the water. And we have drought issues here. So I would look into replacing lawn with some sort of lawn alternative. That's just a comment I'm making. And
yes. Mhm.
I think those are my major comments. They're more about sort of easier care kind of plant material, so that eventually this being on a corner doesn't sort of start to degrade over time.
Mhm.
I think that's it from
All right.
my comments.
All right, thanks, Susan. Bob?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I guess I'll start on the site plan. Couple of things, the trash enclosure. Is that intended, will a truck need to back in there or access it front lift? Or, I mean, has that been thought through? Because it seems a little tight back there when cars would be in all the spaces around it.
We will have to back in, and what we were planning is roll, no?
Roll out the dumpster and
Yes,
position it to be picked up by trash truck.
Okay, all right. And then either you have or presumably you will meet with the fire department about, fire truck access. That back corner also near the trash enclosure seems like a fairly tight radius. I don't know what it might be, but that might be of something to look at. Yeah, right in that area.
Mhm.
There's no cars shown in these spaces currently. You do on some of your other renderings, but picture this when every spot is taken. I think it'll be pretty tight back there. So that's a concern. To look
I'm taking notes about these things, and we will provide the information for the presentation for the special permit. I will definitely include that information there.
Great, thank you. And then I was looking carefully at another drawing in the set that had more dimensions listed. The columns that encroach on some of the parking spaces on the south side of the image there. What do we know what material? Do you know what material they would be encased in? And would they have any protection around them, which A is good because it protects the column, but B takes up more space, so it may not be a good idea. Yeah, that drawing there, if we scroll up, so those 9-foot spaces, I just have some concern about those columns getting damaged by cars.
I think I cannot see very well, but I'm I believe that our, the minimum, width of the parking space, required is away from the columns thickness. Is that correct, Trevor? Can you?
It is. So we're assuming a 18 by 18 base, whether that base is done in concrete and then a 12 by 12 column above that. The final material hasn't been selected yet.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like you've gone to the trouble to size and locate the columns well, so you do get the full 9-foot width for a space, except maybe that one that's circled in red there.
So these are compact spaces. So these are
good.
the 8-foot spaces.
All right, and they'll be labeled as such with a C or something, maybe?
Yep. So we've got it labeled right here as compact,
Right,
and in our parking count, we've accommodated for the compact spaces.
right. And I meant labeled on the ground when they're built. So people know that they're compact.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay, yeah. All right, on the site. And then what's the patio area out on the reservoir side? And I think somewhere else it was labeled a deck. And I'm just curious as to what that material might be there.
Yes, you are referring to that area in the front of the, correct. That area was intended to, basically, we are proposing for a potential seating outdoor space or any expanded use of the commercial in the event that there's, I'm not sure we can accommodate restaurants in this location. As far as I remember, there won't be a specifically restaurant. But if there's any chance that we can provide that space as part of a seating area or expansion for outdoor use, either designated for the commercial or just for the use of the residents. Regarding the hard surface that we are proposing there, it will be similar than the hard surface that we are using for the rest of the pedestrians, walkways, and yes, designated walkways in the rest of the building, very likely to be blue stones or concrete pavers.
Okay.
Okay.
And it appears to be a double line on this image surrounding it. Is that an edge border that's a physical object, or is that something else?
There was no intention to have a physical border there, but it's probably more the drawings that we are designating for that space, or basically it's not intended to be in a different level.
Good, okay.
It will be flashing with the green.
All right, I'll stop there for now, let Mark go, and then maybe we'll come back to, I've got some couple of quick questions on the facades.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
yeah, I think they've reviewed the issues on the site plan fairly well. I did want to discuss a little bit, a couple of questions about the landscaping. Is it going to be irrigated?
Well, that's a good question.
Most likely.
Most likely, we will need for now after the consideration of the comments tonight regarding the maintenance and how can we help with different species or different use for the lawn areas. We will try to reduce this maintenance issue. So
Yeah, as far as the lawn goes, we generally, in these commercial areas, we find that those don't get maintained well, but you do have a lot of residential units here. There may be people that will enjoy having some grass area. I'm worried that the one on Central and Reservoir, given the pace of traffic on those streets and the volumes, may not be as pleasant, but maybe the ones further back in on the far side of what you're calling a deck, which is really just kind of a stone patio of some sort, and then the area along the side where the community gardens is, that, that might be a more reasonable area to have grass, lawn areas rather than that. But yeah, we would encourage you to explore some ground covers that are less maintenance and intensive in these kinds of situations. But give some thought as to, would the residents like a grass area, and if they would, where would that best be? And that's kind of how we will phrase our notes to the planning board, that we don't have a total objection to grass, but we do think there's a fair amount of grass area here, and a possible reduction might be beneficial to getting in ground cover and saving some maintenance issues. I appreciate the sheet there with the enclosures. The trash enclosure going to be, it's sort of a dark color in my print. Is it likely to be black or brown, or have you?
That's correct. It's going to be, yes, but potentially 6 foot high approximately, and will be similar to any kind of fence material. We haven't exactly made a definition for the type of material, but we are adding here an illustration regarding the look that we would like to follow with that enclosure.
Okay.
Mark, good call, good catch, or good observation. I would concur, and I would suggest something not bright white vinyl.
Oh, no. No.
Well, I say that because we see so many of them, and they don't wear well. So darker, maybe you could pick up a cue from your color scheme on the building. There's a palette there that I think is more in the dark gray tones or what have you, that I think would be better.
That's
Thanks.
what we were saying about any charcoal gray, dark charcoal gray, or a very dark brown color, if we want to be, also adequate for the location, the green location where we are accommodating that space.
Okay. And the other thing was just to address Bob's comment. The fire department will review this, Bob, and if they have those issues, they'll also
Great.
take a look at that. But I do think that a lot of these spaces are around those columns are larger than the minimum requirements, so that they've given themselves a little bit of play. And as long as they have a protected base like they're talking about, I think that it'll work. Although whenever I see these, I get a little nervous. I just go, I've seen people in parking lots with no ability to shoot between those two lines at all. But maybe the column will give them an extra incentive to be careful.
Mark, while we're on this plan, I don't know if it's been mentioned yet, but I see a lot of bollards for sort of ground lighting along paths. What about lighting of the parking lot, and where does how might that be handled in such a situation?
One of the elements that we have been discussing is in the area where we have the parking spots under the building, we will have recessed lighting under the second floor. I'm talking about right at the entrance from Central Ave. Regarding around the rest of the parking lot, we are providing these lower high bollards that will provide lower lighting, trying to be, in being sensitive with the neighborhood, that we don't want to provide a lot of lighting in the back.
If you just scroll up.
The bollard is it's one of these lightings that we are showing in the picture. On the second picture, when we have produced 2 post lamps are allocated next to the trees, where we have this green planting area with the trees close to the community gardens.
And then the light posts shown in the lower left corner, would those be along the perimeter, or do you know how many of those you're expecting to use?
Those are the 2 that I've got highlighted right now on the screen.
Okay,
in the
that's it.
islands.
Okay.
And good job highlighting, by the way. That's very helpful.
Thank you.
I have to learn that Zoom skill yet.
Can I go? I'm thinking of other stuff. Can I go again, Mark?
Yeah, do you want to move on to the building? I don't have anything else on.
I got one more thing on the plan. The retaining wall on the south side of the property. What's the extent of it and what's the material? And then same comments about the transformer enclosure, that it's done tastefully. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
The transformer is the location for the transformer is a potential location. We are proposing that for experience on previous projects, we presume that this is a good location for having this transformer. And it will require platform, and it will also carry similar enclosure than our trash. Look, the same enclosure that we are proposing for the trash collection area. That is regarding the transformer. Your previous question was regarding the
Retaining wall.
walls. Yes, we have substantial retaining wall along the perimeter between the, I don't know if you can highlight on the bottom of our lot. I cannot remember the height exactly. Can you help me with that information, Trevor?
Yeah, so it varies a little bit. If I don't know if you're familiar with the existing building, but there's an office building just south of our lot, which is set down relatively far. There's a pretty steep grade. This wall, where we've set it, it would be, I think, maximum of 4 feet at the highest point. It would be sitting at the top of that hill grade.
Okay. And what's the extent left to right along the lot line?
So it goes essentially from 0 to, I believe, 0 at this point, and there's just a belly in the middle. I'd have to go back to the site plan to verify.
And the material?
I don't think we've confirmed the material yet. I think it'd be some sort of stacked block.
Okay. Yeah, that can be, that understood you haven't selected, but it's given that it's so long, I think that will be significant for how it looks. And 4 feet isn't that high, so that's good.
Yeah. Ultimately, it is pretty well landscaped and screened on the
Yeah.
adjacent lot up to this, so it's pretty well hidden, and the building is set down. I mean, this would almost be looking at the roof of the building.
Right, I guess true. I'm just also when you're pulling off Reservoir to your apartment building, you'll see a long stretch of that wall. So
Yeah.
that's my concern from the new tenants. All right,
Okay.
that's it on the site, Mark.
Okay, just to confirm, that wall doesn't really extend up vertically on your side of the site, right? It's really. the
No,
down-
it would look essentially like a curve on our side of the site.
Right,
Oh, okay, thank you.
the
makes
hill
more sense.
goes down there. It's
Correct.
It's a big drop there, Bob.
Yeah, I
to
saw
that
it on
office
topo.
building.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to go back to maybe not the rendering that crashes your computer, but that front elevation? And
Sure.
we can talk a little bit about the materials. That's good. Bob, you had some questions?
Yeah, just two. One is, I don't know how my colleagues feel about that front corner not having a support under it. It sort of catches my eye. It's certainly achievable. It would block the door behind it theoretically, but I don't know. It's just, I keep looking at that. I wonder if the designers have any comments on that. And then secondly, there I see 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 colors or patterns, and I'm just wondering sort of how they were decided upon and arranged. Like, why does one stop where it does and another start, or do they signify something? It just seems a little random.
Yeah, and while you answer that, could you tell us what the materials are? The red, obviously from the rendering, we can see that there's brick, but the dark panels, and if there's more than one color in the light panels, or what are the actual material?
Good question. Thank you, Mark.
So the colors, just to start with the last question, the palette, the selection of colors is actually, we've decided on 3, although maybe the renderings, because of the light we use for the renderings or the presentation that we are providing, but the materials are represented by these 3 colors. The brick, the red brick will be one, and as I mentioned before, is more about trying to replicate or being consistent with what is in the area. There are several small buildings in brick. Then the recessed portion of our building will be in a dark charcoal gray. And with that, we also consider that we try to drop the scale of the building with the color and the material we are proposing. It will be board and batten, fiber cement material, board and
okay.
batten is what we are proposing. And then the light color that you can see is it will be an off-white, more like cement color. And what we are proposing for material in this section are the cement board, like for example, the James Hardy. James Hardy's board. So these are the three materials. This is the combination. We consider that they blend very well with traditional constructions, very much what you can see around that area. And at the same time, we also consider that they are low maintenance. Regarding that particular corner, the presence of any supporting element in that corner, you very well spotted that it would interfere with the location for that entrance, and it's kind of the heavy element that we try to put in and out most of the time from our design. We are definitely considering how to resolve that from a different perspective, from a different structural solution, to see if we can just avoid and keep that clear corner in that location.
Okay. So you just have really those two cantilevered beams going out there to make that corner.
Correct.
So just to a little more on the, for instance, the light colored material, what you're saying is a hardy panel. How are the joints created that you're showing? Are those cut pieces and there's a reveal, or is there a shiplap kind of detail to it? Or how do you create those, the line work, the joint work that I see in the rendering?
That detail yet. What we are using for inspiration and what we like to reproduce here is very much like recessed channels that they produce like a very minimal shadow separating the panels.
Okay. All right, that's good. It'll be nice. And then I see that sort of the quieter street, you have full balconies and then the Juliet balconies on the busier street. So I thought that was a nice way to sort of differentiate those.
Yeah, correct.
So then the cornice line is shown in pretty much the same color. Is that, what is the material for the cap on the building?
If we show the true elevations, you can see it much better.
Yes, they will match the color for the materials.
What is it? Is it a metal?
We can consider metal. We haven't really specified the material yet, but if it's something that you'd like to know more, we can provide that information.
Well, just, curious, it looks like it could have been a cast stone, but given that the material underneath is simply the hardy panel, I would doubt that that's what you're doing. So or if you're just going to build it up with a trim package and then cap it.
So I think the initial plan was for a composite trim at the top, and then we'll have a metal coping on the top of
Okay.
that.
And colored to match the wall below.
Correct.
Which it
Yes.
is. That's okay. That's good. Okay. Susan, you have any questions on the building?
No, not really.
Well, I agree with Susan. It's going to really up the game in that neighborhood. So, so very nicely done. A little bit, but I thought the lighting was helpful. The samples in the overloaded rendering, I did notice that you had shown those wall sconces. They both go up and down.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
And that's all in this day and age with sky wash as a concern. That's the only comment I would make. It's like I don't dislike them, and there's not a lot of it, but sometimes it's I prefer those lights to be up higher and just shine down instead of going both ways. But it's kind of your choice here. I don't know, Bob, you sometimes have noticed that issue as well.
Yeah, and this is an interesting location because it's a busy road and it's a real mix. There's not a lot of residential near here, but there's some, a lot of businesses. So still a fair point. Yeah, maybe the upward could be dimmer than the downward. I don't know if it's controllable that much. But
Just,
I'm not opposed to the fixture
Yeah.
itself. Yeah.
I would agree, just give it a little more thought, and we're not going to make it a requirement one way or the other. It's just something we wanted to point out. And let you determine later. Okay, if there's anything else from the board?
I
Yeah,
have one other inquiry. I'm sorry.
go
Yeah.
ahead, Susan.
Just from this drawing and maybe another one that I saw, is the sidewalk and the parking, the side parking, are those pavers or cobbles or concrete? What? In this drawing, it looks like a paver sidewalk.
Probably that because it was created for us illustrative only. We are not going to use pavers this is the public sidewalk, so I don't think we will be able to use any pavers. It's just being selected by the team who created the rendering without specifically paying attention the material. Regarding the parking, yes, we are going to differentiate the walkable areas from the vehicular traffic in the areas where they are on the same surface by changing materials, and the pedestrian walkways will be in concrete pavers. Yes.
Okay, thanks. So it's a concrete sidewalk, basically. Yeah.
Correct.
I do have one more thing, Mark.
Sure.
Sorry. I'm on sheet, what is it? I'm looking at SP04, special permit set 04 that has renderings. And I'm just trying to understand some grade issues. The lower left rendering. Yeah, there appears to be some retaining walls behind the grass area or treed area. And I'm just wondering, I guess Reservoir Street is sloping down away from Central, correct?
Correct, so it does. So along the parking that's along the side of the building, there is a small retaining wall that's going to be blocking the walkway from the parking, which to accommodate the ADA access due to the slope on Reservoir.
And then how in the site plan, how far will that go? I see what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So it'll extend for these parking spaces that are along the underneath the building on the southern side along Reservoir.
Okay. All right. So, and that's because of grade issues then. All right. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, you can see it there a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
back
I
to that
see
one.
now. Yeah. Okay.
So this, just due to the slope, this is a little bit lower. And so you have about a 30-inch retaining wall.
Okay. So the cars will pull into that and they'll stop there and then they can walk around to get up on the walkway.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Yeah. And that's interesting too. That brings up, that shows one of the columns indicated it is enclosed in brick, I guess, in the scheme. The others in the back might not be.
Yep. So that's one of the main pillars along that front
That-
Right.
edge.
There are
It's
several.
out of the parking area.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, Susan?
No,
All right, well, it's a nice presentation. It's a nice looking building. I think it'll be a nice addition to the neighborhood. So, but George, we will get a memo over to the planning board before your hearing next week.
Okay, much appreciated.
Okay,
Thank you all.
all right, thanks.
All right.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a-
Okay, the next item is Coca-Cola revised their landscaping based on some of our comments, and I assume some comments from the planning board. So Evans, why don't you go ahead and take over.
Yes, good evening. After we were in front of the DRB last time, you guys had some comments about particularly focused on the landscaping plan, landscaping along Third Avenue, the landscaping at the corner of Third Avenue and Kendrick. And then, just sort of whether there were other ways to enhance landscaping around the site. I don't think this was a comment of the DRB, but there was also a comment when we were in front of the planning board about trying to increase recharge on site. And so we have revised our planning plan and upgraded it to respond to these comments. Mark Noguera and Chris Nowak are here. So we submitted some drawings that show the additions to the previously submitted plan. And we also submitted a memo that very, very briefly summarized the additional changes. But if one of you, Mark or Chris, wants to share your screen, we can walk you through what the additional landscaping is that we're proposing.
Sure, Vince, thank you. I'm Chris Novak from VHB. We also have Eric Bednarik, who's the landscape architect, on the Zoom call. I believe he's in the participants section, not the panelists section. If it's possible to elevate him.
There he is.
So hopefully folks can see my screen. This is the material that we presented at the last planning board hearing. Again, the questions that were asked of us, the comments we received, was reducing the grass lawn within the parking lot, Triangle Island, and replacing that with some other plantings. Provide additional infiltration was asked. Also increasing the landscaping and improve the existing condition at Kendrick and Third Avenue. Provide additional landscaping along Third Avenue. Again, this is replacing what was previously proposed as grass. We were asked to take a look at that and provide something that was more durable. We've taken a look at all those questions. The large Triangle Island that was formerly lawn, we've converted that to a bio-infiltration basin, a rain garden, essentially. What's shown in black and white is the previously proposed plantings. And then what we show in color here are the new plantings that were on the landscape plan that was submitted. The middle of the basin is going to be a wet seed mix. And that's primarily a mixture of shrubs and grasses that can live in a wet environment. And then surrounding that with both trees and shrubs. Eric can get into the specific plants if you'd like to go through those in detail. Eric, are you on the call?
I am, Chris. Just let me know. I mean, you're doing fine. If I can be here to answer any questions, or I can go into more detail as needed. So, just
well, Chris, I suggest you just walk through all of the proposed changes, and then if the board wants to direct their attention back to any particular part of the proposal, we can do that.
Sure. So we've provided the list. These are the plantings that are on this slide and the next slide, because sorry, this slide is just showing that we've created an infiltration area. Again, this list is the same list because these two blow-ups were on the larger landscape plan. So the material you see here is a combination of the two areas. This is the corner of Kendrick and Third Avenue. the existing vegetation to remain, preserving it primarily along Third Avenue, but cleaning it up a bit, enhancing the landscaping right at the corner with a combination of some lower ground cover plants along the edge to help minimize erosion, and then really filling in that corner with trees and shrubs. And then as we come along Kendrick Avenue, thinning out some existing weedy trees, infilling those areas, and then continuing the landscape edge up as far as we can go before we start to taper in the right of way. And then moving over to Third Avenue, as we extend up that eastern portion of the site where we have the small strip of what was formerly lawn and then the fence, what we're proposing to do is instead of the lawn, replace that with a combination of Shenandoah switchgrass and flame grass with just a mulch ground cover below that. And then replace what was formerly an ornamental fence with a vinyl chain link fence, because we're going to provide this screening in front of it. And that was really the extent of the revisions that we've made to address the comments.
So I think the planning board is looking for the DRB's reaction to this.
Okay, well, I think it's a big improvement. It looks great. I think you kind of saw our concerns and have reacted to them. I'm gonna I'll let Susan start off. She has the expertise to kind of review in more detail what you're proposing and what you've done. So Susan, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. I like the fence. I think the fence is nice. I like the other fence too. That one works. Honestly, I had some trouble sort of reading the difference because of the key, and the legend is exactly the same for the infiltration basin as it is for the corner, and I'm not sure that actually works. I think this menu sort of works for the bio-infiltration basin, but to put many of these plants on the slope at the corner, I think I couldn't really tell without counting circles, and they're really tiny, how many of these plants are on the slope, but it looks like all of them, and I think that's way too many, and I didn't like the slope before, and now I think it's still messy, but in a different kind of way, like overplanted with too much stuff. So I sort of feel like if you limit your palette to 3 or 5 plants and sort of gradate from tall to lower, which I know you've done, but I think with too many things, too many different kinds of things, it's just going to look, one looks messy with invasives, and the other one over time is going to look exactly the same with way too many different kinds of plants all sort of growing together. I can't really see this corner being, I don't know, based on the way you guys have described it, maintained a lot. So I think maybe more space between the plants. Eventually they'll probably colonize together, but it just seems overplanted to me.
Yeah, I think one thing that I should clarify, sorry for the interruption. This is the same, these two areas that are converted into 2 slides were on the same plan that we pulled this key off of. So it was one plan. This key represents the total plantings for the 2 slides. So not every one of these plants are on this corner. It's
Uh-huh.
really the combination of this corner and the bioretention basin. So,
Okay, so on the corner, could you just tell us, to Susan's point, how many varieties are there? And the density level, and maybe we'll have, because I agree, I didn't
Yeah.
see every color diagram in there, but sort of what is the kind of general mix on the corner?
Yeah, certainly. I can go into this for you, Susan, a little bit more detail. Chris, can you actually zoom in a little bit?
I can, because I called
Yeah,
up the
that'd be great.
PDF.
Yeah, I know it gets a little bit blurry. So there is a certain scale to this, so it does make it look, it's at a much greater scale. And this was just kind of something a little bit more conceptual. We did do a planting plan that has all the detailed plants laid out. But again, as Chris mentioned, along the back of the sidewalk, you have the purple and the green hatch patterns, which would be low ground cover between bearberry and also like a Bar Harbor juniper, to basically just try and avoid having mulch along the backside of the walkway. And as Chris mentioned, minimizing erosion as stormwater runs down that slope. The pink colors would be red twig dogwood. The dark green circles that are very similar in shape to the pink, not those actually, Chris. There's
Yes.
just you up to there, and there's just a few to the right where there's 3 trees being removed. Are inkberry, just standard inkberry. And then you have between the light green and the bluish towards the top of the slope, those are a mix between dark American arborvitae and also some eastern red cedars. And those are shown at about 12 or so feet in diameter. And then there's a few shade trees in the back, which I believe I had as a red maple at the top of the slope, just to provide some additional screening up higher. So I do, of course, when we design, we try to, keep in mind the growth rate and the full growth potential. It does look in this particular diagram that it is overplanted, but it is to a certain scale that there is a significant amount of room. If you have been out there lately, the slope is fairly bare. There's not much out there at all on this corner. And so, maybe some of the arborvitae and cedars could be reduced a little bit. And also trying to take into account, size wise and then long-term growth as well. Size wise when planted and then long-term growth as well.
What's the maturity of your plantings? Is it at 5 years or 10 years or?
Yeah, I mean, I always like, for those, so for instance, the red pink circles, the smaller red twigs, those are like a 6 foot, 6 or so foot diameter circle. The arborvitaes and the cedars again are around a 10 to 12 foot diameter circle.
10 to 12 feet, okay. All right, well, you're right. It's not as busy as it looks.
Okay. I think our comment would be that, it's well planted and that we would, you'd want to take care not to over plant it at the beginning, but to have a good mix, which I think after the explanation you appear to be doing. But again, yeah, trying to draw something at this scale with a lot of detail is difficult. Bob?
Everything else, I thought I thought it was wise to remove the grass and replace along the side there. That was really my only concern.
Okay, Bob?
Yeah, if we could go back, zoom into that corner. My first comment is it's a big improvement over what's there. So that's a good start. And I guess it's rare we have to tell people not to plant so much. So, but a couple comments or questions. So I see preserve existing vegetation, remove existing trees to remain. So how many, and if someone could just take me through that a little bit, and will it be, the scrawny ones will go, the good ones stay? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I took a look at this very closely, went out on site and looked at it. So for instance, like those 3 trees with the X's on them where Chris is right now, those are really scraggly, not native, they're pear trees.
Yeah.
They're just really missing. They're just ugly. I'll put it that way.
Yep.
So we remove those, make it look nicer. Again, this whole planting, like you said, Susan, having the layering effect from low to high with a nice mixture. I actually think it'll look quite really nice. The way it's layered in the different colors. Again, we're trying to put the undertone of the Coca-Cola brand in there by utilizing different plants that do have red with the red twig dogwood. And then the green to the top there is a stand of existing vegetation. It's actually relatively clean. There's nothing wrong with it. I think just lacing it with mulch underneath and maybe removing some dead material, there's not much, will look quite nice. And then just having the front edge of the lawn along the curb line with the mulch underneath those trees will look really nice as well. And then looking over to the left, there's just a bunch of different deciduous trees over there ranging from 3 to 9 inches in caliper, which are the green circles and dashed outline. And so just cleaning up right now it is fairly clean, just cleaning a little bit more cleaning up of the undergrowth, just not making it as scraggly looking as it does, and just adding some mulch there, making it look clean would make a big difference there.
Good. Thanks. I think that'll be definitely an improvement. And then in this area, loam and seed with the 2 arrows, on either end. Yeah, right there, there's a horizontal line, a black line, and then a dash hatched line to the right of it. What is that?
So this black line is this is pavement that's being removed.
Oh, okay.
That dashed black line is
That was a limit of work for the
Yeah.
sewer relocation work.
Okay, fine.
it's a different phase.
Fine. And zoom back in one more time, please. There appears to be some kind of a hatched rectangular boxes that follow the perimeter of that curve real closely.
Oh,
So
this,
Erosion control, right? Or
yeah, those are hay bales.
yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
There is an existing block retaining wall at that corner that I'm sure people have seen. That's
Yeah.
going to go away.
Oh, that's terrific
It's,
to hear.
it's not a fixed structure. It's just
Right. And then I think I noticed when I was driving by there recently, there's sort of this single random, very tall light pole facing back away from the street corner, but towards the buildings. Is that to remain?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. I think that's that corner will be much better for your work. Thank you.
Okay, that was, I think, like, as we said, I think it's much improved. We appreciate the explanation. I think that corner is an important one in that area, so it's nice to see that it'll be upgraded like that. I guess I just have, this is just a sort of curiosity question. Are there security issues for Coca-Cola? I mean, this is going to be the only fully fenced site in that neighborhood for the most part. Or is it just their standard approach because of the trucking and all the trailers that are there?
So it is a Coca-Cola corporate requirement to have a 8-foot fence. They've thankfully gone away from the 8-foot fence with barbed wire. And Coke Northeast, acquiring this facility from Coca-Cola Refreshments, has removed the barbed wire. I think we're going to clean it up now with the newer fence, 8-foot, but it's what they call a core requirement for Coca-Cola company.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll modify we'll just do an extra memo to our first one, Evans, and we'll send it to the board.
Great, thank you. They've closed the hearing. They're just waiting on a memo from you, and then they're going to deliberate.
Okay, good. Well, we'll get that done.
And Mark, can I make one last comment?
Sure.
Thanks again to all the team for the presentation and the work in responding to our comments. And I think it was I who asked about the solar, so I just want to say thank you to the detailed answer provided on the slide that I was able to read. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, do you need anything else from us?
No, we're good. Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Evans,
much. Appreciate
and
it.
everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the minutes from October 17th. Were there any questions or modifications?
Nope.
Nope.
So take a motion to approve the minutes of October 17th.
So moved.
Second,
And the vote, Bob Dermody,
Approve.
Susan Upton,
approved.
and the chair approves. Take a motion to adjourn
So moved.
Second,
and the vote, Bob,
Yes, approved.
Susan,
yes.
and chair says yes. So thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you, everybody.
And thank you, Kristen, who I see in the attendee group. And thank you, Elisa, and we got the, that's good. Thank you.
Oh, she didn't show up in the